What's the haps, Panther fans? It's the Professor, aka Tony Dunn, bringing you the C3 podcast every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. And I gotta say, this is the place where Panther fans rally, they retaliate, and they seek their retribution. It's a great night to be a Panthers fan because I'm with my boy, that freaking Puerto Rican, Rico Suave, aka Joe Riolano. Your brother told me to say that tonight. Say hello, Joe.
What's up, Panther Nation? It is your boy, the freaking Puerto Rican. Um, I'm in the house, catching up. Been on vacation. Went to Panthers training camp. It's been a long 2 weeks, but I'm finally getting back into the swing of things. We've got some good stuff to talk about tonight. We've got a special guest on the show with some really good insight to a division rival.
Intense GB, Greg Barber. Say hello to everybody tonight.
Hello, everybody. It's Greg Barber. Like I said, you can catch me. That's my Twitter handle, IntenseGB. I'm the Saints writer on football.com, and yeah, feel free to go over and read a few articles. And we'll definitely be writing some more for the Saints this year.
That's great. We're actually showcasing one of your articles on the sidebar right now. Hopefully, it's a new feature through Google Hangouts, so I'm hoping that people can see it. Can't wait to check out to make sure that it's working later on. We're showcasing some of the articles from C3. But just before we go ahead and get in, just go ahead and plug our website, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Be sure to check us out for all the hottest fan-focused Panther chatter. We got a lot of stuff going on. You can check the podcast out on Stitcher or download it on iTunes as well. Tonight we're going to be talking Panthers and Saints. We also have Joey two fan spotlight final selection members that we will be announcing,
That's right.
and a little surprise. Tony Dunn might be on the radio on Mondays talking C3 and Panthers football. I'll tell you about that a little bit later. You guys ready to talk some NFC South rivalries?
Oh yes.
All right, Joe.
Cool.
Were you huddled around your TV screen on Friday night?
Um,
Did,
fr-
tell me, there was a
Friday
weird
night.
situation with you, right?
Oh man, I was incredibly disappointed. I was in the mountains of Virginia in a little town called Harrisonburg. It's where James Madison University is. Gorgeous town. I really did have a good time. I was at my in-laws, and of course, they weren't showing the Panthers game on the local affiliate. They showed the Redskins game the night before, so there was no
Of
football
course.
on.
That's not surprising.
So I was going crazy. So I was able to pull it up online, but I missed the entire first and half of the second quarters. So I still have yet to see the whole thing because stupid NFL Network, for whatever reason, shows every other game twice before they show the Panthers game once. And
Disrespect.
it is total disrespect.
Stephen
And
A.
it
said,
makes me
Aw.
crazy. Makes me absolutely crazy, NFL Network. Why do you hate the Panthers? Why do you hate the Panthers, NFL
I
Network?
know. Greg, tell us, where did you watch the game at? When was the
Well,
Saints game, and where were you at?
it was Friday night. It was actually Friday night, and I was at home. I was watching three. I was kind of doing a three for there myself. I watched
Oh,
the
wow.
Saints. I was also had the Bucks on
Oh,
TV
wow.
because because I live in Tampa, so the Bucks were on
There
TV.
you
So
go.
I
Rub it
watched
in,
them
Greg.
watching the Saints game, and then I also was watching Atlanta, which was an hour earlier than the Saints game. Yeah, so I was kind of juggling and just looking and scouting the competition, seeing
There
what's
you
up,
go.
and you know, it's very interesting stuff.
And that Bucks game was interesting to say the least. It was funny, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Who
Yeah,
did they
yeah,
play?
I,
Jacksonville?
yeah. I spent
Yes.
some time. I spent a little time laughing at that one. That was very interesting there. Oh man, I should have stayed out of the year.
I love that their fans were excited for about 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And now, and now we're back to football. I mean, it was. They have been talking so much smack since free agency and Lovey Smith,
Oh,
and some joker on
believe
YouTube
me, I
has been talking about McCown like he was some damn Tom Brady or something.
Right, the second coming of Troy Aikman or something like
Oh
that.
my gosh! I hate to tell y'all, you better hope Doug Martin shows up because that's the only. Well, and those receivers, but it don't matter if you just let people walk through that
somebody
line.
got to get the ball
Right.
to the receivers.
Yeah.
Somebody got to get the ball to the receivers. He can't do it if he put the ball on the ground.
No, you're gonna be dumping it off to Mighty Mouse every
Right.
play.
Muscle hamster.
Muscle hamster. Okay, so
That-
we all watched. I have watched Joey just to kind of be the opposite of you. I've watched the Panthers game like 6 times. It's embarrassing. I I watched that first drive at least 10 times. We're working on something for the website on how that first drive signifies the Panthers defense and its strengths and weaknesses as well. But I've been excited. I thought it was a great game. I want to ask you guys both a question. I'm going to start with Joey. How did you feel about your Panthers with the expectations or the lack of going into that game? How did you feel after what you saw?
I felt encouraged. Not that I was holding my expectations low for the team, but with all the pundits and the professionals saying how the Panthers are going to take a step back and how they're not as good as they were last year and all that sort of stuff, I was encouraged because I felt like the Panthers showed just how good they are going to be, that they're not going to roll over, that it's not going to be a year where they give away the NFC South title. Somebody's going to have to come take it from the Panthers, and it's not going to be easy. I really liked what I saw as far as our depth at certain positions, and we are young. In certain places we're a young team, and we're only going to improve and get better. So I was very encouraged.
Greg, after watching the Saints, you said earlier, I mean, the natural sloppiness of a preseason game. It's the first one,
Yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
I mean, to act like that is, I mean, of course it's going to be sloppy. If you see how much they don't practice at all. Um, how did you feel? How about this? Did you guys live up to your hype?
Um. Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, if you think about it, like as I told you guys earlier, they set out 13 people. So basically, I mean, that's a lot of chemistry that is taken out of that. And you brought in a lot of the younger guys. But for the most part, they beat a pretty deep and young Rams team like they did. And they edged them out in that game, but they did beat them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was encouraging. For me, the biggest thing was that they had the depth. Because I'm not worried about the starters nearly as much as I'm worried about the depth, the guys behind them. Because generally, you're always going to have those injuries. And I always want to know that the guy can step up, all right, and I know that he can come and do the job, or maybe even better than the starter. And I'm encouraged by that. I think we're even deeper this year than we were last year. And so I think we're getting better, and still we're younger, too. I mean, we're still a very young team when you really think about it. So we're right in that age range there. Pretty much a lot of guys 30 who can play.
All right, well, following up on that, tell me what you think the best thing you saw out of that game and the worst.
Okay, let's see. The best thing, oh man, tell you the defensive line. I thought the defensive line played pretty decent for the most part. I really like to play a Tyron Walker, somebody I've liked for the last. He's been around for the last 3 years. Nobody really knows. He was injured a couple times over the last couple years, but when he did play, especially in preseason, the kid has a motor on him, and he's really that's another beast right there that they can in the pass rushing game and to stop the run. So if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time, and he's also going to make the line fresh. So I was very encouraged by his play. Diedrich. They had a couple of guys on the line there that played very, very well. Uh, Probably not really scary. Probably alarming. Probably only one I worried about was the cornerbacks. Was a little bit of because of the fact that Patrick Watson played a little bit, but we still have a lot of youth at the cornerback position. So we're still trying to figure those out. Figure out who's going to be the number two to Ken Lewis, but then also who's going to. I think Corey White is going to end up playing nickel, which I think that's where he should be. He's at best in that position. So if they keep him at nickel, it's going to be who's going to be that outside corner. Is it going to be Robinson? Is it going to be Champ Bailey? Or Stanley John Baptiste mature in the next 3 or 4 weeks enough to play in that first, be the starter. So I mean that's what
you think about Baptiste.
Well, I mean you can tell he's still new and he's raw because you got to remember he came out of college. When he came to college, he was a receiver and he switched over to corner. So he kind of almost like basically everybody was saying he got size and everything, followed in that same path of Richard Sherman, got the height, all that. But so he's still raw as a corner, and he gave up a pass play, which he probably could have knocked down if he turned his head around in time and located the ball. So that's just something that could be developed. I mean, that's nothing. I'm not scared of it. I mean, as long as they coach him, he'll learn it and he'll be fine. So I'm expecting that out of a guy in his first year. In his first couple of years, I expect him to get burned a few times, and I expect him to maybe not locate the ball nearly as well as he should. But as he gets older, he'll get better.
Joe, they did not. It didn't take any time for Jimmy Graham to convert on over to a new position, did it?
No.
So we'll see. Well, you know what? We were eyeing him as Panther fans because of his size and athleticism. Also, another guy on that team, I am petrified of.
Yes.
I mean, I am shaking in my boots.
Mach 7.
Gosh, my man Brandin Cooks, who.
Yeah. I'm kind of liking. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him, especially in practice. Oh my!
You bet.
Oh my goodness!
Like it, my man. He's got some YouTube.
I'm loving it. I'm actually loving it, but you know what I'm.
You trying to?
You know what I mean?
To just gloat.
Exactly.
Brandin Cooks was C3 fan base's selection. We held a Don't Mock the Draft Decided competition where we put out suggestions of guys and then fans voted. And Brandin Cooks, this was before the combine, so he hadn't shot up the charts just yet. He took it by like an overwhelming 70%.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But you watch his videos. Basically, it's like if you're not feeling good one day, just YouTube Brandin Cooks, and you will feel like a Superman out there. Like that mug is awesome.
Have you seen him in practice with the Saints so far? Have you seen any of those videos?
No,
Go watch a couple of those.
I've seen one where
they throw a little
dude on the sidelines and then
just
90 miles an hour up the coast. I'm worried about that. So you like the defensive line. What was the worst thing you saw again? Just refresh my memory.
The worst, I mean, like I said, to me, it was just you could tell with the cornerbacks. Everybody just trying to figure out, who's going to be that second cornerback. They weren't scary or terrible, but they missed stuff too. So you can see that, but for the most part, I'm encouraged. I'm definitely encouraged. Don't get me wrong with what they had. But that's the only bad point I can say. I thought the offensive line played pretty well. They opened up a lot of holes for like Ingram. Ingram ran the ball better than I've ever seen him run.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Since even the playoffs, he was pretty strong. So was Kyrie Irving. He played very well. I mean, just with those two alone, if you keep those two, get those two between the tackles.
I thought Kyrie Irving played for the
I'm sorry, I apologize. You're right, Kyrie. That's what boy that Kyrie.
I don't even know.
Oh
I don't
man,
know who
I
you're
did put
talking
Kyrie.
about. I only know one
What else?
Kyrie
Let
Irving.
me
He's
hit
a
out
basketball player.
basketball, man. He has all the cap, but
Okay.
yeah. But anyway, yeah,
Well, we
yeah,
got two segue
he's a heck of
questions
a
on
player.
that. Mark Ingram, you said
Yeah,
ran the best you've ever seen. Joey, you noted
yeah,
to
he ran very well.
Joey, what is Mark Ingram been saying this week
Oh,
or
and
this past?
he wanted to be the best running back ever.
Yeah. So, in
The
response
thing
to
about
that,
it is,
tell us what that means, please,
uh-huh.
Greg. Tell us what Mark Ingram on the New Orleans Saints. Even what language is he speaking when he says he wants to be the best running back ever?
Well, I mean, there's no running back that you wouldn't want a running back that doesn't want to be the best running back ever. Let's start there. Am I right?
Sure.
Nobody wants to running back that doesn't want to be the best running back ever.
I don't want
And
I
number
don't
two,
want
I
a
think
running back that has dementia or is like
well, yeah, well,
hallucinating.
actually, right. I mean, a guy with a short memory, he gets stonewalled a couple times. He forget about that. He
Right.
might, run through the next time because he got. So I
Okay.
mean, that dementia might work for him if he.
Gotcha. Gotcha. He
You're
forgot
right.
how he forgot
But
how crappy he was, and then and
yeah,
then
well,
he remembered.
I think he's actually finding his groove. And number two, like a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people knew this. New Orleans moved to the zone read team last year, which unfortunately I think a lot of with the offensive linemen they weren't as used to it, how to do it. They did it a few years back when they won the Super Bowl in 2009, and they went away from it, and then they decided to try to go back to it. Peyton wanted to go back to it. Well, last year, like I've said this many times before, when the zone read, if one player misses assignment, it all
Yeah.
falls to heck. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It really makes the running back look worse than what he is in the
Right.
offensive lineman.
Right.
So they're all catching onto it and really getting that, and he's running better because he's finding the hole and he's making decisions quicker. I can see the way he's running the ball, he's hitting the hole and just.
What impressed me the most with what I saw, because I watched a little bit of that this afternoon, actually.
Because you couldn't watch the Panthers.
Right. It was how hard he was running. He was running like with a purpose, and like he had something to prove. That's what really
contract year.
me. And he's got a body. He's built for that style of running to pound and pound and pound and punish tacklers. He's not a small. And
Nope.
if he can keep that up for the whole year, and I think if memory serves, I read that Pierre Thomas is falling behind him on the depth chart.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
Only like
I think Pierre is going to be the third man. I think when they re-signed Pierre, they brought him to be the third back. Is what they plan to do. I think because they saw what they had in Ingram and Kyrie, so they took them both and had and used them in the playoffs last year when Pierre was hurt, and he played and they both played very well. And so I think that they feel like they got a real nice 1-2 punch, and then I think you'll see Pierre more in the passing game.
Okay.
Because Pierre's still one of the best screenbacks in the league.
Yeah, he's a very good receiver out of the backfield. Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is. So you still got him there, and then you got Brandin Cooks as well. So you shoot a 5-yard pass to him, and that might be 65 yards before you know it.
Joey, I think that Mark Ingram has been just hanging out in New Orleans too long and he's drunk. Thinking.
Too much time on bourbon.
No, I mean,
yeah.
You think about it. I mean, in Alabama, he was a Heisman Trophy winner, right?
Sure.
The talent's there. Now, I mean, it's taking a little time for him to understand the game. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the case is or what his problem is.
But it's the easiest position to transfer. Man, that guy.
Not really. Not always.
No,
not always.
I guess not in New Orleans because they don't let you have running backs there, and you just have to be a receiver. So.
Not necessarily. I mean,
the idea that the greatest running back ever would even be on the field at the same time Sean Payton was the coach is about as drunk as I was when I was on Bourbon
Well,
Street.
that's
Well,
that's
but
pretty unlikely
what?
just
Yeah.
because of the offense that Peyton runs. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean,
okay,
for
go
him to
ahead.
say that he wants to be, that's
Yeah.
fine. He
Oh,
can say that,
I
and
want
it's
to
a
be.
good goal
I
to
want to.
have. You
okay,
want to be
but okay.
the Bill Gates of
Mhm.
sports internet, right? I'd like to be the Bill Gates of sports internet, and there's nothing wrong with saying that.
I'd
But
also like to be able to
Right.
dunk a basketball goal, but guess what? I'm never ever gonna do in my life: dunk a basketball goal.
Yeah.
right,
But you got to
uh,
look at it like this. One thing, now I think you're pegging it wrong. Everybody looks at the Saints as a passing team. Their best years in 2009 and in 2011 when they really had like seriously the greatest show on turf. That year when they broke the offensive yardage record, when they broke that record, they ran for over 2,100 yards as an offense that year. They were like number 4, number 6 in running the ball. I think they were like number 4, I think 4 in passing and 6 in running. So I mean, it's not like that Peyton doesn't run the ball. I think what it was, they did pull
You
away
said
from it over the last few years,
2008.
couple years,
You said
and that's what everybody got that perception
2008.
you don't run the ball.
well, I mean, when your quarterback throws for 5,000 yards for 3 years in a
Yeah,
row, you're going to get the
yeah.
perception of, hey, they don't run the ball much; they throw the ball.
Man, you are joking
Right.
if you don't say you're a passing team. I'm sorry. I ain't buying it. 2008 in football is like when I mean that's like an eternity ago. And 2011.
No, we're not. 2011. 2011. We're talking about three
Okay,
years
yeah, but
ago.
you said
And
2008 and 2011. So we can only
2009. When year they won the Super Bowl, they were one of the top. They were one of the top running teams too. They ran the ball. They ran the ball very well. And that's the
that
thing too. I mean, because they're passing, they closed up half their playbook. So now they open that run. If they open that run up, like Peyton really wants to do it, and they actually do that, and Ingram runs like you saw him running and against St. Louis. Give it up. You ain't getting the title. It's over for you.
Oh my lord. I think that Intense GB has been hanging out Bourbon Street. Saying,
I
I
think
he just said this. He just said Sean Payton wants to run the ball first. Sorry.
I didn't say run the ball first. I said run the ball well. Two
Okay,
different
well,
things.
if that means like one every 12 plays and it's a trick run play.
If it
the Statue
well,
of Liberty.
if it's 1 out of 12, okay, but hold on. Think about like if this if it was 1 out of 12 plays and he got 25 yards to carry,
That would be a good
out of
average.
those, is that not bad? Is that
Yeah,
a bad
because
thing?
That's a
everybody
good
just had a heart attack that you
average.
ran the ball. It was that they were
That's fine.
shot.
If they drop dead on the field, they drop dead on the field.
All
I
right,
am
here we go.
unsympathetic.
Listen,
I'm throwing a flag here. I'm throwing
I'm
a
gonna
flag.
say something. Let me say that running against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is one thing. Trying to run the ball against the Carolina Panthers defense is a whole nother, just a totally different level. And
Agreed.
I'm not saying the
I,
Panthers, are well. I am. I guess I am saying the Panthers have a dominant defense, and you can run against Jacksonville. You're not going to experience that kind of success against the Panthers. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well,
well, I
look,
mean, and nobody's arguing.
I got to break up this love party for 1 second because we're coming back to the Saints. But before that, we've got to announce 10 minutes late the first selection tonight in the Fan Spotlight contest, who will be eligible to win 2 tickets to the Carolina Panthers home opener versus the Detroit Lions, and also dinner at Firebird Steakhouse, which I ran into somebody and they go, "That's my favorite restaurant." So I'm excited that this is going to be our giveaway. And our first selection, Joe, is Tammy Carr, and her Twitter handle is at tcar523. And this is basically what her entry said. I've been a Panther fan since the day Charlotte acquired the franchise. Through the ups and downs, the wins and losses, my love for the team has never wavered. I'm emotionally attached, and anyone that is a diehard fan of any team will understand that. I cry when we win. I cry harder when we
Go ahead.
lose. I hate to see my favorite players leave, but understand the bigger picture, and this is the fact of business. I want nothing more than to experience a Super Bowl win and bring the Lombardi Trophy to Charlotte. And when we win, because we will, I will add the corresponding Roman numerals in ink to her tattoo, she goes on to say, where she has a keep pounding tattoo on her foot that she got when she found out her father had cancer. Joey, I feel like I'm barely a Panther fan after reading this.
Right, right. And well, I'll say this: as a Panther fan, hearing that, I was moved because I can relate to it, and she did was able to put onto paper what many Panther fans, I'm sure, feel.
All right, so we're going to announce another winner selection tonight. But Greg, let me ask you this: Do you have
Okay.
the fleur de lis, or what is it called?
Yeah, the
The
Florida League.
Totally.
fleur. Oh, I did it! Wow, and I haven't even thought about it in like 4 months. Do you have the fleur de lis tattooed anywhere on your body?
No, actually, not yet. That is a tattoo I
Oh,
plan
you
to
said
get.
not yet. Oh, yeah. I
Very
like it.
nice.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, because I haven't. Yeah, I haven't gotten a tattoo yet. But I've always wanted to, and I was like, I just haven't took the time to go and do it. Because me to sit still in a chair all day while they're cutting it up, doing that, it's probably going to be hard for me to do. You
All
know,
day. What
just
type of?
most times because well, it ain't gonna be all day, but you know what I mean. Still long enough. So yeah, but I'll get that tattoo on me. Don't
All
worry.
right, I want to see it on the back
I'll
of
be
your
proudly
head.
displaying it
Oh, stop.
On the back of the head. That's the way
Yeah.
to go.
You know how you would have to be a man's man to get that. And then, no, that wouldn't. Don't do it,
too.
Greg. Not
Yeah,
on the back of the
that's
head.
gonna hurt. Oh,
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
maybe he
nah,
should
that's
get a
gonna hurt.
panther on the back of his
That's
head.
gonna really hurt.
Okay.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. A
Yeah.
panther?
If the
Maybe, maybe,
Panthers
maybe,
win,
maybe totally stabbing a panther, but not a panther.
what if the Panthers win the Super Bowl before the Saints do? Will you get a Panthers tattoo?
Well, the Saints already won one.
Well, I know, but I mean the next one. Who wins the next Super Bowl first?
Joey, will you get a Fleur de Lis tattoo on your bald ass head too?
No way.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna stick my neck out.
I know you're saying next go round.
I know
You're
Joey's
saying this
like,
next
damn,
go
I
round.
gotta get a tattoo next in February. That's what he'd be worried about. Okay. So you said you were worried, Greg, about the secondary. Tell us what's going on
Well,
with
no,
Jerry.
no, no. I didn't say,
Oh, no, you said that was the one
no, I
thing
didn't say it was
you
Jerry.
didn't like. The corners.
No, I said the cornerback. I said figure out who's the second cornerback. The safeties I am fine with. All the
Okay,
safeties are fantastic. I ain't got no argument there.
tell us about Jarius Byrd, his injury. What's going on with him and his status?
Well, he's fine actually. He's playing. He's practicing and everything. They're keeping him. They got him practicing, and they haven't put him in any games, but I think they're not too worried right now as far as putting him in games. He's just basically, I guess, mentally taking everything in, but he's practicing on the field as far as in practice. But they held him out the first game. There's a chance they probably will play him this one. I'm not totally sure yet. So they will probably know that probably closer to Wednesday, Thursday, if he's going to actually suit up for a little while and
Has he
play. And,
has he been involved in any contact
Hmm?
drills? Has he gotten in any contact yet?
I think they do it slowly. Actually, I think most of them just have him walk through walkthroughs right now.
Okay, so he's not
I
done
don't
it
think
yet.
because he wasn't in the scrimmage. No,
Okay,
no, I don't think he has. I think at this point they're resting that back as much as they possibly can.
right. Do you see it being a problem in the regular season? I mean, I know you hope it's not going to be, but are you concerned at all that it could be one of those lingering sort of things, or one of those things where if it gets aggravated, it's going to force him to miss some significant time?
Well, the way I look at it is that right now I mean, Kenny Vaccaro's been calling the defensive secondary plays and stuff. So he's been one of those leaders on the defense. So basically, I mean, if Bird is out at any significant time, they still can. I mean, I think with Marcus Ball, I also think with Raphael Bush there, they got enough guys there to still hold the fort and be fine. Because I think they're actually very deep at safety position. Like I said, I still think they're deep at cornerback. Just everybody trying to figure out where they're going to be. But the safety position they're pretty deep at. I think for the most part with Bird, I like to think that I think he's going to come in and play. I don't think he's going to play full time. I think he's going to come in at first in the first couple of games. I think that what they may do is bring him in from play to play. You know what I mean? And just slowly filter him in, and then you may see more of him later on.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and just kind of work him in. That way, because to get back use the contact, it depends. Now if they play him in his second game here against Tennessee, he may actually be like the full-time starter and be fine. And then that tells you he's okay, and they're not too worried about his back.
Okay.
So but for the most part, I'm not too concerned one way or another. If he's out, I don't think he's gonna be out a significant amount of time anyway. I think they're just gonna. I think you just won't see him play. He'll be rotating in and out. I think that's what how it's gonna go. If anything.
All right.
Joey, he's not concerned then about his secondary at all because he's got these.
No.
Not concerned at all. Joey, are you concerned about the Panthers secondary at all?
No, if you guys are pitiful, no.
I was more. I'll say this. I was very confident going into this game that the secondary would do better than people were expecting. I was surprised that the secondary didn't do as good as I thought they would do. Now, it is only game one. There's still a lot of a lot of time between now and the regular season for things to adjust and people to settle into positions and that sort of thing. I like what we have as far as talent goes. It's just finding the right combination of players, I think. Tony, we saw Sticky Wicky at training camp, and we know what he's capable of. He's very inexperienced. That's a big thing in the NFL because they're so advanced in their plays design, and they can line up one way and pull something else out and make you think one thing. So that inexperience is going to hurt him, but talent-wise, he's got all the physical tools. Kason knows Rivera's defense. He has had a tough couple of years. He was a first-round draft pick, so he's got talent.
Did not look good.
No, he didn't.
Look good in the preseason game.
He didn't.
And he's looked good in camp.
Yes.
So
that's worrisome.
He had a bad game.
Yeah.
It was simply put, he had a bad game, and I don't like to see that against. I understand Sammy Watkins is supposed to be the second coming, but he can't be but so good this early, I would think.
Right.
I didn't think Kason looked good. I don't like our secondary at all. It's been the weakness of the team for a long time. It's Thomas Deku was the best player. Him and Melvin White were the best players in the secondary. And I worry, I've been a Kason fan, and I hope I didn't misplace that. And after seeing that game, Sticky Wicky is going to be good, but he also is not ready just yet.
Right.
To take on a large role. So, in my last part, I guess I would say is this: can the Saints take back Roman Harper?
No.
No. Ain't gonna happen. The gate's locked.
The gate's locked. They changed the code.
It is yours.
No, it is cause for concern. The one good thing we have to help that secondary out is that front seven. And that front seven really helped that secondary last season. So we're hoping for the same sort of thing. And I think honestly, we're probably going to be a little deeper on the front seven this year than we were last year, at least on the defensive line. So we'll be able to be fresher and maintain that steady pressure on the quarterback. I think that's one huge benefit for our defense is I think our rotation along the defensive line has increased in the guys that we're going to be bringing in. So that'll
Well,
the back end.
I'm 100% with you on that, Joey. Is first I want to point everybody to the sidebar, and we're promoting a couple of stories, and one of those was C3, who's usually not the quickest on the draw, but usually the deepest. It was the quickest on the draw on the preseason game night, and we got a story out at halftime. 5 quick observations about the first half, and we're featuring it on the sidebar now, so please check it out. I think it applies very well to just the general part of the game. But the thing that I noted in that story, Joey, very first thing, our front seven is still boss.
Yes.
And they are only better now. Like you were implying, is that not only do we have probably the two best defensive end combination, which we did not see in this game at all because Charles Johnson is not playing in the preseason. I don't think he will play any games in the preseason. To keep that hammy nice and nurse it back to health, we've got the best defensive end combination and maybe the best defensive tackle combination,
Could be.
or at least emergent defensive tackle combination with Star. I can't pronounce his name, Lakulele,
Makulele.
and also K1
Yeah.
Short.
Lele.
Yeah, so that front four will eat, and they eat good. And then when you have those boys just churning people up, Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis behind them get to roam free and do what they do. And so that is always going to make our secondary better than they truly are.
Yeah, I agree. It will.
It helps it.
Sure, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Um, what do you think of those comments, Mr. Barber? You think Carolina has the
Yeah.
best defensive end tandem and maybe the best defensive tackle tandem in the NFL?
Well, I don't know about all that, but
Uh-oh,
I
here we
know
go.
it is a good front seven. The front seven is very good that you guys have. And last year, your secondary was a little suspect, and this year it might be even more suspect. But at the same time, because you guys do have a strong front seven, like you said, it does help. It does help your secondary in a sense. Because if you guys can't get sacks or at least put pressures on the quarterback, you got a shot that the secondary doesn't get exposed
Right.
as much. But if that quarterback has all day to throw, it's over for you.
Well, that is one thing you will not see when you play the Carolina Panthers is a quarterback having all day to throw.
You never know.
It's
You
gonna be
never
looking
know.
like Josh McCown against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That
That's-
sounds Little Drew Brees is gonna be ducking and hoping to make a bad commercial instead of showing up against Carolina.
We'll
But
see. We'll see.
You're right. Is that the one thing we have to stop is Brandin Cooks wide receiver screen. Oh my God, I'm already nervous about that one.
Let's got more than that because you still got Jimmy Graham, you still got Kenny Stills, you still got Marcus Colston. I mean, come on. I mean,
okay. Speaking of Kenny Stills,
uh-huh.
what's going on with him? How's he looking in the offense this year?
Well, he was actually pulled out of the first preseason game. He was injured, but he's been sitting out at this point. I think he's actually been practicing, but just just kind of lightly. But for the most part, he's or sometimes he's been sitting out too. So for
He's
the most
been
part,
nicked up a bunch. So
yeah,
to this point in his young career, hasn't he? He's been dinged up a bit.
yeah. I think and he's one of those guys. I think they kind of know what he can do. So with Payne, he'll pull some of those guys out just to kind of give the other guys more rotation time.
Okay.
Because he's got a lot of young receivers too. and he's trying to see if those guys are going to get a spot in on the team. So I think sitting out Steals, he's not too worried because he knows what he can get from Kenny. Because you still got guys like Centavious Jones, who's fighting for a spot, Brandon Coleman, Hawkins, the other kid Hawkins there. They got some guys, and these guys showing a little flash of talent. So, I mean, I'm thinking that they're trying to see if those two guys are going to be able to replace either Robert Meacham or maybe even Joe Morgan if Joe Morgan doesn't come back as well. But I think Morgan will be okay. But I think it's Meacham that's the one that might not be safe.
Okay.
Joe,
mhm.
Joey, I want to ask you. Well, I want to go ahead and say this. We're going to announce the second fan spotlight selection for tonight, and then after I read this wonderful story that we're all going to shed tears over about how awesome of fans we have, I want you. You have to ask Greg about Sean Payton and his former buddy, Greg Williams.
Yes, I sure will.
Okay, so
I look
here.
forward to that.
All right, and you go ahead and just be prepared. We're going to be talking about y'all's little love drama down there, soap opera. But first, what we have to do is announce our next selection, Abby Lewis, one of our favorite people on Twitter. She put in this beautiful selection, and I gotta say this is I'm a little disappointed I didn't meet my wife at a Panthers game. Now we've had this other story that's wonderful. Now this is how it goes. All right, so here's my Panther fan story. If it wasn't for the Panthers having a horrible season in 2011, I would have never met my. Oh no, wait, excuse me, 2001. The spreadsheet's kind of cut off. I would have never met my husband on 10/14/2001. She had an extra ticket to the Saints game. She didn't get Greg, but instead she goes to this game and she sat beside a man from Atlanta. They struck up a conversation. They ended up exchanging numbers and emails, and they caught up afterwards, and eventually they got married.
Wow, a Panthers love connection.
I know. And on top of this, it is by the way, he's a Jets fan, so not a Saints fan, but he happened to be there on business. On top of this, she's born and raised in Charlotte, and her grandmother and mother are responsible for her sports love. 4 generations of Panther fans, which is astonishing since we're only 20 years old.
Right. They start him young there in the Lewis family.
But okay. No, I'm joking. Her 93-year-old grandmother was a Panthers fan. So this is a whole family of lovely young women, young at heart, who are Panther fans, who met their husbands in hating the Saints. I love this story, Joey. Joe, does that make you... If it wasn't for hating, they wouldn't be married. So she should actually apply to the Saints fan spotlight contest
and thank them.
And thank them for beating our ass in 2001. Okay, Joey, are you? What do you think about these entries, and how does that segue to our love connection story with Greg and Greg Williams?
I think it's great. I think the fans are doing a wonderful job of putting on display their love of the Panthers and how they came to be the super fans that they are of the Carolina Panthers. Please continue to send in your entries. I believe we have one or two more. We have 2 more contestants that will be selected for the final drawing. We picked the top 5, and we've gotten 3 down. So keep sending those entries in, even if you've already submitted them. Please continue to send them in. You can enter as many times as you'd like. 2 tickets to the Detroit Lions game, dinner for 2 at Firebirds. And if you can't find a date, look me up because I want to try this Firebirds. I've heard nothing but good things about this place. But yes.
If you need a new Panther fan husband, give Joey a call.
No, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. My wife might have something to say about that. But then again, maybe she'll be like, "Yeah,
Well,
take it." But
If
yes,
you aggravate her enough, she might let you get out the house.
right, right,
Just speed that divorce process up.
right. She's like, "Thank God."
I,
um, the segue to the love connection. There is, or I should say, the love that is lost there in New Orleans
yeah.
between head coach Sean Payton
Yeah, that was.
and
Yeah,
former defensive
that's a
coordinator Greg Williams.
Yep.
Tell me,
Yeah.
please, Mr. Barber, what was the deal
Yeah.
with the no handshake, or they didn't even greet one another after the game? What was up with that?
Hey, those two, even when Williams was working for Payton, they really had kind of an icy relationship. It never was they never were really like friends or anything like that. They always just had that kind of they just Williams did his job, Payton did his thing, and that's just how it was. And of course with the whole Bounty Gate situation and how that all went down. It just ended up being, it was no different because you could tell pretty much, that Williams wasn't necessarily loyal to the Saints or anybody. The only one he was covering, only ass he was covering is his own. Excuse the
So
language, but that's what it was.
So,
are you saying that Sean Payton was worried that he was going to get Nancy Kerrigan's on the way out to the parking lot while they worked together?
Well, I think he was more worried about his players because I think that's why a lot of the guys when he pulled a lot of the players he pulled 13 players out of that game. Part of it was, like I said, he wasn't going to put Breeze in there. He'd have a chance at a cheap shot or something like that. Because Williams has been known, not necessarily known for cheap shots. Don't get me wrong, but
No,
Williams is
hey,
known to, he'll come after him. He'll come after him. So I
okay.
think he felt like, what, he's not going to he's not going to give Williams anything to work with on that.
Do you
So
think
that's part of it.
do you think it's possible that Williams felt like he took the brunt of the blame for the whole Bounty Gate situation when in actuality
Well,
Peyton was just as responsible?
Payton was out for a whole year.
Right.
How did Williams get the whole brunt of the blame? Because
Well,
Williams,
it was the defense.
huh?
You know what I'm saying? It was the defense that was doing this. It wasn't like the offensive line was going out after defensive players. It was the
Exactly.
defense.
Exactly. The whole team suffered on that. The whole team suffered on that situation. And number two, that was something Williams had been doing with every team.
Right, I have heard that.
When that story, huh?
I have heard that. I did hear that this isn't the
Exactly.
first time that's happened with him.
Oh, God, no. When that story came out, who was it? It was a couple players in Washington when Greg Williams was there. Said that they had the same thing going when he was back in Houston. I think it was Houston. Back in Houston. When he was with Jeff before. Tennessee. I'm sorry, Tennessee, not Houston.
Yeah,
but Tennessee.
Right.
When he was back there, he was actually he was doing the same thing there. I mean, the story, that was happening all along, but that wasn't the only team that was doing it. Because there were other players who went back 30, 40 years who said that they had been doing stuff like that for years. Of course, and Goodell just went. Goodell knew he wasn't going to go down that rabbit hole because he knew he can't punish everybody. So the Saints ended up suffering the brunt. We had kind of a lost year, especially that was a year two when we thought we had a good shot at going to the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl was going to be right there in New Orleans that year too.
Right.
And of course, and then that ended up, that happened. So you lose your coach, you lose your GM for 8 games. Basically you came in with a new defense coordinator who would not listen to the players or try to adjust his defense. And it was just a whole mess, you know what I mean? Interchangeable coaches. But I mean, with I'm not angry with Greg Williams. Personally, I can care less at this point. He's gone, and we're in a better place anyway. So we ended up, went through a year of hell, but we ended up coming out of it better than what we turned out, better than what we had before. So I think, but there's still gonna be, there's always been a little bit of animosity between Payton and Williams, even when Williams was working there,
Joey,
because just huh?
I think what Joey might be suggesting here, to a certain
Okay.
degree, is that yes, Sean Payton was suspended for a year, but
hmm
when you get to watch the games from the press box or wherever he was at the Super Bowl or
He
whatever
was
he was,
he couldn't he
he was
couldn't
he was
he couldn't
at
go.
one game. I remember him being at the Super Bowl
That
or
right, he was like
something.
only one game, and only he got that game because Brees was breaking the record, breaking the passing record,
Right,
and
right. Is
Goodell
that
allowed him to come to that game. That was it.
everybody really, I felt like Greg Williams was described as the bad guy and Sean Payton as the fall guy, in that, at the end of the day, the head coach has to pay for the sins of the team. But I thought that he was able to escape that in some ways, like Joey is suggesting, without the stain to his personal record or credibility. And that somehow was able to be shed to Greg Williams, which maybe the NFL wanted it this way because look, Greg Williams is now back in the NFL. To me,
Yeah.
that's a surprising story in some ways. Is when didn't he retire?
Greg Williams?
No,
Yeah,
He was just
no, he was
suspended.
banned.
Yeah, he
suspended.
was.
He
Yeah,
he was suspended. He was suspended indefinitely or whatever.
right,
At first, remember, because he only was only in for a year or two himself. Because he came
right.
back last year, he was like the assistant with not with the Rams, I think who was it, with Tennessee. I think it was with Tennessee Titans under Munchak, and he worked with Tennessee last year. Then he became the defense coordinator with the Rams because Munchak was fired in Tennessee. So that's Williams didn't necessarily get any worse of a penalty than Sean Payton did. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, he
So
didn't.
and but Payton actually, I thought Payton got a worse stain on his reputation than Greg Williams did. In all honesty, when you look back on it, I mean, and I know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand from a Saints fan point of view, we see it one way, the rest of the world sees it another way, and that's fine, because also too is a lot of evidence that actually would have exonerated the Saints on a lot of this stuff that didn't never come out. And I mean, I studied this heavily, so I know there was a lot of stuff that came out that I saw that never came out, that nobody ever talked about, and even Goodell's explanation of it was brutal. It was terrible. It shouldn't have flown at all. It shouldn't have happened. But it is what it is. It's done. And we're moved on now to go and get a second title.
Okay, well, Joey, this is what I do agree with what Greg is saying on this, is that Sean Payton knows nothing nor cares nothing about defense. So that is the one place where I can see Greg Williams being in total control. Is Sean Payton's like, I'm over here with my crazy chalkboard of X and O's offense that's never going to run the ball, that Mike Ingram will never be even a good running back. All
Now, what
just
if he runs 150 yards on you?
no way. No way.
I'm
If that
counting on that
happens,
one. Just for you,
if that
just for you
happens,
guys.
Cam Newton will throw 5,000 yards this year
On who?
On the Saints.
on the
On
Saints
who?
in one game.
It won't be on unless it's the Greenberg Elementary Saints. It ain't gonna be the New Orleans Saints.
Well, that's the same thing. Remember that when Mark
It ain't
Ingram
gonna be on
runs
the New Orleans Saints.
on the Panthers.
That's
Okay,
funny.
Joey, we're gonna finish the show out. We got 5 minutes left.
Huh?
Do do the Saints win this division outright? And if so or if not, who is the second contender for the division title?
I think the division is between the Panthers and the Saints. That's what my thoughts are. I think they're the only teams that have a legitimate chance. I think Tampa, well, we saw what their first preseason game was like. It was preseason, but they had the worst showing clearly of the division, I think, in the first preseason game. And then Atlanta, I think both of those teams are just a little bit behind the Panthers and the Saints as far as talent, and they're kind of, I don't want to say rebuilding, but they're still acquiring pieces, I think. So this is going to come down to the Saints and the Panthers, as well as it should, just like last year. And no, I don't think the Saints run away with it. I don't think they do. I think it's going to be a fight, tooth and nail.
Oh, without a doubt.
Greg, tell us what you think about this. Are you guys going to win the division? What's
Well,
the outlook of the NFC South?
I think the Saints will win that division. It's hard for me not to think they won't. I think the fact that we added more talent to the team. We still got a younger team, and I mean we still, for the most part, most of the injuries we have are fairly minor stuff that they'll be able guys will be able to play. If they had to play today, most of them will be able to play. And so for me, I think that we're in good position. If we can stay healthy, that's the biggest key right there for us. Second place, man, that's a toss up to me because I still think Atlanta's a little better than what they showed last year. So I can't disagree there. And I think, and see Carolina, you guys are kind of an anomaly because the fact that with the whole the receiver your receiver section there. That's the position. That position right there is the biggest worry for you guys, I think, other than the secondary. Are they going to be able to be as good as they were?
I'm not worried. Are you worried about receiver, Joey?
No, that's the last thing I'm worried about.
Why? Tell him why, Joey. Tell him.
Because KB Red Zone is going to be doing all kinds of touchdown dances this year in the end zone.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, maybe a few teams, maybe. Yeah, he'll do a couple. I know I saw him make a real nice catch, and he made a very nice catch early in the preseason game, I think.
Yeah, for a touchdown, right. His first professional catch as a pro football player. It was
his only catch where it was an insanely awesome catch. Here's my prediction, Joey, on this is that Kelvin Benjamin catches more touchdowns against the Saints than Roman Harper plays the game. That means,
how many games are you giving Kelvin Benjamin? 15, 16 games?
No, just against the Saints, he's going to catch more touchdowns than Roman Harper plays games this year.
Is he going to play the Saints, 15, 16 times?
No, he's going to play them twice. And he's going to catch more touchdowns than Roman Harper will play.
I know, in those 2 games, right?
Right.
Yep.
He's Benjamin. He might catch a touchdown here and there, and it might be cleanup time. By that time we'd be up on you by 14.
Lord, he is crazy. See, that's all right. It's all right. It's okay. Brandon?
I said it.
Greg, we are going to have you back on during each of the 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
When these teams play.
Please
we're going to have you on that Tuesday. You're coming on the show,
Please do.
Let's just say. All right, how about this? Last question we'll get out on this is, who are you more worried about playing at home in y'all's crazy place where nobody wins at? Are you more worried about the Falcons or the Panthers?
At home?
Yeah, at home.
I think we play the Falcons a heck of a lot closer than we play the Panthers. Like every year. I mean, no matter what their records are, those two teams just like it's almost you could put a slip of paper between them. Saints still win most of the time, but it's a tighter, for whatever reason, it's a tighter game. Number 2 is a lot more hate to it. I mean, because no doubt, as a Saints fan, you're born to hate Atlanta.
Right.
At least the Falcons.
Maybe it's because both
the city of Atlanta. Yeah, that Falcon team. Yeah,
Because they're both dome teams.
Yeah, maybe it's because
we'll
they're both
see.
dome teams is why the Falcons play so well in Atlanta, in New Orleans.
Nah,
We'll see.
D'Angelo Williams ran like 200 yards against y'all at y'all's place in y'all's crappy season. So, um, how about this? I'm gonna go ahead and say that Atlanta doesn't have a defense,
Right.
and
I
defense
can agree
travels.
there.
Defense travels. Now, I think that winning in New Orleans against Sean Payton is like as about as likely as Mark Ingram getting 100 yards in a game
Against the Panthers.
against the Panthers. Exactly.
One of
I
those
just gave him
games,
50.
one of those games, the Saints will have they will have a 100-yard rusher, whether it's Kyrie Robinson or Mark Ingram. One of those two are gonna run 100 yards on one of you on one of you guys in those two games.
Okay, and Kelvin Benjamin's going to have 100 yards receiving against the
On the
Saints in
sideline,
one of those two
not on the
games.
field.
And
Yeah.
touchdowns. He's gonna have. Boy, he's gonna. How about this? Is Kelvin Benjamin will have as many receiving yards as your entire running back core will have.
Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
All
We'll
right,
see.
Joey. Any last questions? If not, let's go ahead and get our plugs in and go ahead and get out of here.
First, I just want to say thanks to Greg for coming on because it was a lot of fun. Greg, every time I do a show
Yeah.
with you, I really do enjoy it. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to bring you back and have you on for the regular season matchups. And thank you for taking part of your
Absolutely.
Tuesday night and coming on. We appreciate it. My name is Joey Riolano. You can follow me on Twitter at FanFirstPro or at Joe Riolano. You know the site, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We are doing a Charleston, South Carolina Panthers fan club at the Tanger outlets at Southside 17 at Tanger. It's brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles, Southside 17, the Fan Zone of Charleston, and Holy City Brewery. That fan club will meet every time there's a Panthers game on. Drink specials, food specials. We're going to be on a big 70-inch drop screen TV. It's going to be a really good time.
Greg, tell us where they can find you to carry on this ridiculous discussion.
You can find me at IntenseGB on Twitter. On Twitter, you can find me at IntenseGB. Definitely, yeah. Feel free to connect and talk all that smack. Be ready, because when we run on you,
They're gonna be
we're
running
gonna
up.
run on you a lot.
You're gonna run to the locker room because you're getting beat off the field.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna run to their playbooks because they can't remember how many
Yeah.
pass plays there are. And there's only one run play.
Yep. Yep. From the line of scrimmage to the end zone. That's the only run play.
Well, I want to go ahead and tell everybody to follow at IntenseGB and please check out his story featured on the sidebar football.com. Those guys doing a lot of good work over there. We're glad to have their input into our show and thank you for coming on. Again, you can check us out at
Yep.
CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Follow us on Twitter at cat_chronicles. And most importantly, folks, check out us on Stitcher or iTunes. You can get the podcast. One last thing, Tony Dunn might be hitting the radio waves every Monday, 4 p.m. to talk a little Panthers on 1250 Pirate Sports Radio in Greenville, North Carolina with my boy Clip Brock from the Sports Bar. So I'm excited about that. So everybody check that out. I was on this past Monday, actually, which was yesterday. And it was wonderful. We had a good time. We had fun. And we were just as ridiculous as Mark Ingram being awesome. So that is the show. And thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign us off right now.